Hey, what's up? My name is JuanCarlos. I'm a software engineer and entrepreneur. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about how I got my first job writing code to hopefully give you insights on my experiences if you're trying to do the same. Okay, a couple quick updates. Feel free to skip to the end. I'll have timestamps in the links below if you don't want to listen to these kind of life updates and just want to get straight to the content. This is my third video. I'm trying to be more experimental with it. I think I took the first couple videos a little too serious, and at the moment, I'm really worried more about producing videos consistently than trying to produce it to a high standard that I want it to be at. And hopefully the videos that I'm putting out there are still gonna be sharing some type of value, and hopefully that you can get something out of it. My goal was at the beginning of the year to make 2 videos every month at the least. And at this rate, I'm only going at 1 video every month. So in order to make up for those lost videos, I was supposed to get my kind of change in how I'm doing this is just to be a little bit more open with it, try to not take it as serious. And it's something I'm just trying out for fun as well. I don't want it to be kind of like a second job. It's more something that I want it to be a creative outlet. And so that's what I'm hoping to do with it. And I appreciate you guys tuning in, the early watchers, the early subscribers. I still got a lot to learn and I still got a lot to grow. So I really appreciate you coming from the start. Okay, but that being said, let's get started. Let's talk about how I got my first job writing code. I'm gonna be talking mostly about how I got into web development. That's kind of the career path that I decided to take with software engineering and learning how to code. And it's a pretty popular option for people just getting started. And it's also a pretty big industry too. I feel like it's booming right now. There's a lot of frameworks. A lot of companies went from developing stuff on desktops and just mobile phones to now thinking more about the web. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of you guys know this or not. If you're technical, you probably do. But a lot of your applications that you guys are using now on your Macs and on your phones are actually written using web technologies. So that's HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. I don't want to dive too much into it for this video, but basically each platform, so such like a phone or a laptop or a browser, each has their own different languages and systems. And so a lot of the Android phones are developed using a language called Java or Kotlin. That's a pretty new one. And also iOS is developed using Swift or what used to be Objective-C or C# or C++. That's the languages and the coding languages used to build apps on that platform. And there's a whole web revolution going on. It's easier now than ever to create web applications. Web technologies are now being used not just to create websites as they were originally designed to do, but now people are using them to create apps on their phone, to create desktop apps, both on Android and iPhone. So this is a really good time to get into it if you are interested in that. So I was on my third year of my computer science degree. At that time, I was working in the communications and marketing division for my university. So at that time, while I was working there, I was actually looking to transfer out to a different university for reasons I'm not gonna get into in this video. But when I transferred over, that's when I was looking at the new school that I registered to. They had an online job posting for students at that university. And that's when I started going through there and trying to see what job opportunities were there. And these were showing up on Google as well. So you don't have to have that kind of access. Like all these same opportunities were posted publicly. So when I was looking through there were a lot of like internships or people new to web development. I just looked at job opportunities that was looking for somebody that knew HTML, CSS, and JavaScript because that's what I was familiar with. I was also experimenting with PHP and WordPress. So I was just getting like familiar with the web in general. But I was looking for a job opportunity. I already took some classes in computer science and I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can get an internship doing that. But that's just to illustrate that you have to search for the opportunity. I feel like now more than ever in 2021 and probably going forward, a lot of these job opportunities you can find on LinkedIn, on Google, on Glassdoor. There's just so many job posting boards now than there were just like 7 years ago, which is kind of around the time when I was searching for the opportunities. And that just seems like so long ago. That I've definitely seen the web transform completely with a bunch of new job opportunities and a lot more companies being more open to hiring developers now and today. So today's now a good time to just search for those opportunities. Like literally just go to Google. If you want to stay in your town and maybe work somewhere there, then just look up web development job opportunities in your city. Another thing you can do too is look for remote opportunities or maybe some freelancing work. Those kind of jobs, they're not really looking for somebody with a lot of experience. They're just looking for somebody who can get the job done. But you can also look up internships around maybe companies that you like around there. Or again, try to look for something that may be remote too. You know, when you're looking at those opportunities, look at the requirements they want from you, what languages they're looking for. Usually they illustrate it right out there, like, know this framework, this many years of experience. That part don't really listen too much to. They just put it on there to kind of, I think, scare people away. But if you prove that you're knowledgeable and you have the skills to do that task, then you have definitely the right foot forward going into it. So if you see a job opportunity that you like, learn the kind of systems and technologies that they're using and just look up a YouTube video, look up a tutorial and just do something real quick with it, get a good understanding of it and just apply. I mean, they're just looking for somebody who has the skills and is competent, but a lot of these entry-level job opportunities, they just want to know that you have the skills and the task that they're going to give you usually isn't too complex. It may be if you're doing freelancing, but just make sure it's something that's in your comfort zone. Make sure it's something that you can actually deliver and that you know you're skillful and just apply to the opportunity. But first, you got to make sure you search for it. Again, Google, LinkedIn, any social media network, just even posting somewhere on like, hey, who's hiring? There's a lot of opportunities out there. You just got to look for them. So like I mentioned, when I applied for that job opportunity, that internship, and I already had a portfolio and a website that people can go to. You know, when you're an arts major, maybe you're in marketing, what employers are looking for is for a portfolio. They want to see the different work that you've done before, and they want to feel comfortable that you have the skills to actually do that thing. Now, I don't want you to be intimidated by this because you don't have to do anything too complex. You don't even have to necessarily code your own website. You can use a website builder. You can use something like WordPress just so that you have a portfolio that you can write about the projects and the technologies that you know. So if you don't already, buy a domain. If you can't find something with your name, you know, do something creative. If you want to go into coding or development, there's some good URLs that you can find now because it's pretty acceptable to have your name.code or your name.dev. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be a .com. That is going to cost you some money. It's not going to be too much. It's like $12 a year. You can go on google.domains. I'll have a link for it in the description. And you can just buy a domain. You have it registered. And they even have options right there after you buy the domain to actually create a website through them. Or you can sign up for a third party like Wix or like Webflow, or there's a bunch of different ways to build your website. So that's really gonna serve as a digital representation of yourself. And that's super important, especially if you're applying for web development jobs, because just like somebody who's applying for marketing jobs or graphic design jobs, they have to have something as a portfolio to show that you can do that work. And especially in web development, sometimes you're going to be hired on to work on systems that are private and that nobody's going to see. And so maybe you can't share that on your portfolio. But again, as I mentioned, you can always do side projects. You can always just experiment and try something and just write about it. And you don't have to say you're a professional. You can say, hey, I dabbled with it. I did a project with it. I understand what this technology is, what it does. Here's the pros and cons. Here's the benefits of using it. And that's definitely going to give you a step up behind people who have never had experience with it, have never built something with it, even if it's tiny. So just make sure you have some form of a digital representation of yourself. And you also have to worry about your resume as well and updating your LinkedIn profile. Those are all pretty important. So if you don't have a LinkedIn, definitely sign up and fill it all out and try to be as precise as possible and try to write good and meaningful descriptions of the work that you've done. I won't talk about too much about how to fill out your LinkedIn profile here. There's probably other videos on YouTube that do a way better job, but make sure you got a LinkedIn, make sure you got a personal website, and make sure you got a nice resume. If you haven't updated your resume recently, or if you haven't created one, go through and create one. Make sure it looks nice. There's plenty of templates out there that you can use, and you can use Google Docs to edit it. So you don't need any real software. You just need a computer. I guess you could do it on your mobile phone. That's gonna be a little difficult, but it's possible. Another account that you might wanna have, and you don't necessarily need all the contributions, but it's good to have a GitHub profile if you're trying to be a developer. GitHub is a company where people post their code repositories to upload your code so that other people can see it, they can download it and use it. It's good to have an account for that. I won't say necessarily you should have it all filled out and you should have a lot of contributions or that you should have a bunch there, especially if you're just getting into this. But I think it would be good to at least have an account and maybe one or two projects, or at least updating your profile there. And with everything you do, especially if you're gonna be a front-end developer or a front-end web developer, to be more specific, that job is very design focused. So you're gonna wanna have your website and your projects and your resume and your descriptions and everything be a good representation of who you are and of the work that you can do. I'm totally aware that I'm pretty lucky to have had the opportunity to work that first job and get my foot in the door while I was in college to do an internship to write code. And I did apply to a couple other places, but that just never went through because that first opportunity kind of panned itself out. But that's not always the case, especially after my first internship. I've applied to other places and other jobs since then. And so I definitely know that rejection comes with applying. And that's totally fine, especially if this is your first gig, you're just trying to get into it, and you already have some representation of the work that you can do. Or I wouldn't take the no too harshly. Obviously, if there's things that you can work on, improve on, and develop, then you want to take that feedback and apply it. Let's say somebody mentioned that something about your resume needs to be updated or was off-putting. It's good to always get feedback. I know sometimes it sucks. Sometimes you're putting yourself out there and what you hear back, you're like, oh, this is kind of garbage. But it's good to hear that because you need that in order to keep progressing and making things better. So if you feel that you're competent for the role, or maybe you can learn the necessary skills to do so pretty soon, then just go ahead and apply for the role. And if you don't get it, don't let it discourage you too much. Just keep rolling with the punches, keep trying, keep doing research, keep looking at the descriptions and what the things are looking for, and just take each failure as like, what can I learn from this? If you feel comfortable in these technologies, you've proven that you've had projects in these and you've displayed those and you feel competent enough for that role, and you applied to like 50 different roles and you still haven't heard back, at that point, I would just recommend, hey, try to get some feedback, try to see where you can improve, and just keep going back at it. And let's say you found a role and you really wanted it and you're really hyped for it, and it just didn't pan out, it didn't work out. Like, don't be discouraged. There's a lot of opportunities that are not just in your area. Again, you can go remote, you can go freelance. There's a lot more ways to get your first job and earn your first paycheck writing code. And if you do hear no, and it is a place that you do want to work, maybe they thought you didn't have enough experience in this type of technology. And if that may be true, you can also sign up for online classes. There's a bunch of tutorials on YouTube. There's just a good amount of information out there for you to learn that particular technology that job opportunity wants you for. You do gotta realize that part of the process is luck. Part of the process you can't control. And so you just kind of have to go with the flow and just keep trying to improve. Okay, just to wrap it up, you gotta make sure you search for the opportunity. So go out there, do your research, look at the descriptions, and try to see if you find something that you like. And then you have to remember to have a good representation of yourself through your LinkedIn profile, through your resume, through your website, if that's the route that you wanna go. And don't be afraid to ask for feedback on it to make sure that it's to the level that you want it to be. And then lastly, just keep trying, keep going out there. It's a numbers game, just keep rolling with the punches. Cool. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, especially early on. I'm still experimenting with this, so if this format is something that you guys liked, let me know. And until the next one, I'll catch you guys later.